Welcome back to another Strange Juans.
Oh, Strange Juans.
We obviously know that you guys like me better as a host. It's okay. You got to put up with Tom.
Yeah.
It's fine, dude. It feels like we've been pumping these shows out. This is like the 5th episode we do in like last week. We did like 3 or 4 podcasts, right?
We did 2, we did 3, but I didn't record on the one for Patreon, so that will be coming out soon. We'll probably do that very soon. But me and Juan for the Patreon are gonna get into a strange news episode because we're gonna do things like strange news. There's gonna be strange, creepy stories. There's gonna be a bunch of strange things on the Patreon. So watch out for that shit. And that's how you can support us the best is listening to the extra content that we pump out. We'll probably have a rant episode soon, but yeah, when this comes out, it'll be 2 weeks after it. But I think I've convinced my girlfriend, my woman, to go to the Freedom Rally with me on fucking Saturday because we're recording on a Monday.
That?
The Worldwide Freedom Rally, bud. There's a worldwide freedom rally going on. It's all over. You guys
are an American. Sit down. This
is
America.
Everywhere. It's happening in the States. It's happening in fucking Rome, London, England, Australia, fucking everywhere. So it's like it's happening in like Edmonton in Canada, in Sarnia, Toronto, London, St. John's.
I've never heard of that, bro.
It's a worldwide freedom rally. You got to watch TikTok a little more there, bud.
You're giving your energy to the fucking reptilians, bro. I'm telling you, dude.
So she's like, I'm not going to fucking Toronto because Toronto's probably gonna be packed full of people because they always are with their protesting shit. But we're probably gonna go to London, Ontario, which is a big city that's about an hour away. So I think I may have convinced her. She said maybe, and usually she's like no when it comes to me wanting to fucking go protest and do shit.
I thought you were gonna say some cool shit like I got her to come on the show. That'd be pretty. I'd listen to that shit if she came on the show.
Eventually, one day, I told her that I would like to have her on for like a Patreon episode just to kind of shoot the shit and so the fans can get to know the woman that has put up with me for 11 years.
I don't even think she likes you all that much. So just between me and
fuck,
you.
Man.
Anyways, this
is a crazy case.
My nipples are pretty hard for today's episode. And
this is fucking nuts.
I enjoyed looking into it and I forgot how I came across it because I know it wasn't a Mr. Ballin. It was something. I was watching something on YouTube about different dimensions and all this bullshit, and it came up. It's dope. And it came up, and I shot you a message right as soon as I heard it come up.
And I was like, I've never even heard of this shit. Usually, I know, like I usually listen to all the Coast to Coast and stuff, and I'm sure that maybe I heard about it when I was a teenager, but like this is like pretty fresh to me that I don't really remember hearing about this chick. I'm right now still banned from Facebook. I got off of my ban for literally like, I don't know, 8 hours. And then I got banned again.
Nice.
Because I'm promoting the fucking, the sexual alien encounter episode we did, which is hilarious. But I did some art for it where it's just like, it's this chick and she's naked and there's these aliens with dicks all around them.
Yeah,
it's fucking funny.
I was like, that's pretty risky.
And then so she had her nipples covered and I put the symbol on her vagina, but it still got flagged for nudity. I'm like, how the fuck? It's a bunch of alien guys around her. I don't understand.
That wasn't a good decision, Tom. Not that you make any good decisions to begin with. I was just
banned for fucking 90 days. Now I'm banned for another 30 days. It's making me sick of social media because I'm just trying to promote the podcast. I think somebody reported as nudity, even though I made sure there was no nudity in the photo.
You gotta make sure that you appease our reptilian tech overlords or they're gonna whip you, bro.
But I was thinking how did some fans shout this out? A couple of fans want this to happen, so we might do it. I might start a fucking Reddit page, so and then we can post whatever the fuck we want as long as
I don't know why you haven't.
We're gonna start it now because I'm getting sick of fuck books. So
yeah, Reddit is amazing. So yeah, follow me on social media at the 101 Podcast, YouTube, the 101 Podcast, and on TikTok at the 101 Podcast.
Yeah, everywhere is Strange Brew Podcast now. Or Instagram used to be Strange Brew Canada, but now Strange Brew Podcast. Follow that. I want everyone to beef up the Instagram because who knows how long I'll have Facebook until I throw my fucking computer at the wall or my phone. So
well. Let's get into it. So today we're going to be talking about Stella Lansing and what did I tell you we're going to name it? The
ghost photographs or something like that.
The ghost the ghost photographer. Yeah.
Which we could eventually near Halloween. I don't know if we'll get into it with Bilbo or some strange dudes that have on the main episodes of Strange Juan podcast. But I would like to cover. You can't really see them, but there's a lot of weird ghost photos that we could talk about from like history. You know what I mean? Because they did the double exposure and stuff like that, and some of them are real, some of them are faked.
So this one is a little bit different, and that's the reason crazy. It really caught my attention. And there's not a lot of information on this on YouTube or the internet. So
I looked for a couple videos on YouTube. I could only find like 2 or 3 of just some guy with a very shitty camera being like, "This is an interesting story." And
I'm reading this off of a blog post on ghosttheory.com, and it's called Stella Lansing Photographs from Beyond, and we'll get into it. So Stella was a
Photographs from Beyond.
Bro, that is way too long. You need to shorten that shit up.
I got a couple of those weird ones. I got a bunch of stupid shit.
You don't have the what's it called? The X-Files?
Oh, I got that shit. I guess it is more X-Files-y. Stella Lansing. All right.
So Stella Lansing was a middle-aged housewife from Massachusetts who in 1961 began experiencing strange and otherworldly events that over time led her down a bizarre path of UFOs, strange humanoid creatures, men in black, and visions of other worlds, most of which she managed to capture on different types of film. Here we take a look at Stella Lansing's work and research into a nightmare that followed her throughout her adult life. The Life of Stella Lansing, Photographs from Beyond. And I'm usually a skeptic when it comes to things like this, especially back then that there wasn't the internet. And you could, like you said, you can modify
there's double exposure shit.
Exactly. And there's different things you could have done. Maybe not perhaps Photoshop, but what I like about this case in particular is that they tried to debunk it and it really wasn't, they weren't successful. So it all began in a cool September day in 1961 when Stella noticed a bright hovering orb outside her home in Northampton, Massachusetts.
Yeah. And it was like somewhere, I thought I heard too, it was like down the street that she was like, some say it was in front of the house, but since she was like going for a walk. And then she saw these weird ass orbs, which is trippy.
So the object hovered at a tree line level off in the distant sky before zooming closely to her, stopping in midair between her house and her neighbor's garage. That terrifying incident, although short, marked the beginning of Stella's journey. Too fucking long, Tom. Cut those fucking... So, and this reminds me of the Skinwalker Ranch, right? My friend Ryan, he's had a lot of run-ins with these strange lights, orbs of lights. He's had run-ins with humanoid.
Well, I don't know if I told you. I think it's on my Tommy. Well, now I call my Instagram is now the Raptilian for anyone who wants to follow that. I saw that the username was available, so I'm like, this is meant to be. But I think it's still up. It's old post. I'll see if I can find it and maybe repost it. But when me and my woman were out for a walk like 2 years ago, she was taking photographs of like me with the dog on this bridge, and twice we caught these bright green orbs, and green has to do with nature and stuff. They're usually like nature entities, like, you know, it was like pixies or gay shit like that. But it was like clear as fuck, green ass orb in 2 different fucking pictures. Like it moved. It was fucking trippy. I'll see if I can find it on my Instagram and send it to you or something, or repost it, because it's fucked.
The ones that Ryan has run into, there are these in the middle of the Skinwalker Ranch territory.
Yeah,
there's these huge balls of light that just follow him around.
Huge balls.
Shut the fuck up. And they follow him around, and they make no noise. They go super fast, and they say that he says that they've like almost chased him.
I've caught orbs on camera before. I caught orbs when we were taking photos in an old wax museum in Niagara Falls. The picture of me on my Facebook where I have Jason behind me or whatever, that was there. But I like that whole weekend we caught weird pictures of orbs in that, and it's a really old wax museum. And then there's a picture of me, and my girlfriend took it for trying to fuck with me, but we were drunk and I was just taking a piss, and I was naked, and there was a fucking bright red orb behind me in a fucking hotel room.
I think you told me about that one.
Yeah, and it was just trippy because, and at the time I was kind of a fuckhead and I was kind of going crazy, and this was when I was a lot younger and I was kind of mentally unstable and angry all the time. And that
were mentally unstable?
Yeah. And that the red is to do with like fucking like a dark entity or like evil energy and shit, but there's all sorts of different interpretations of it.
Yeah. So strange lights during the Great Northeast blackout of 1965. Stella was driving to deliver candles to a friend's house, or to a friend whose house had also been swallowed up by the rolling darkness that swept through the neighborhoods. En route via Flint Street, Stella noticed a bright light overhead. She saw the same glowing object that visited her 4 years before. This time, however, was traveling through the telephone poles along the highway she was driving down. Her terror and confusion was temporarily hijacked by a strange dark car that seemed to suddenly appear on the highway. The black car was a few feet ahead of Stella and appeared to be driven by the light. The black car then rolled off the highway down a hill to a standstill. As Stella slowly drove past it, she got a sense that the occupants of the car were looking as the bright orb suddenly dipped below the telephone wires and into the nearby field. From there, Stella saw the light flying northwest before flaring up into the dark sky. She kept her car moving until she reached the safety of her friend's house. So, we should probably do an episode on the Men in Black because we haven't really talked about the Men in Black, right?
I was debating on doing that on Strange Brew with Billy. I don't know, or we could all three join in for that one because the Men in Black is a very deep topic. There's a lot of levels to it. So I was debating. It is on my list to get into it later on if we cover on Strange Juans or on Strange Brew, either one. But it would, I imagine, be a 2-hour fucking episode because there's so much.
What's that movie? I know there's a famous.
And I
movie
just watched
that
Men in Black when I was drunk the other night.
Not Men in Black with Will Smith. Isn't there a movie that was like the Men in Black, but they were what's that one? Was it Signs? I want to say it was
Scary Movie 3.
I want to say, it might have been one of those stupid movies like I think that's what I'm thinking about.
Because I think Leslie Nielsen, the one guy, is like fucking one of the Men in Black guys, and then they're hanging out with the aliens, and he's like, they pee out their finger and stuff.
There's a movie where like they were like it was like super Men in Black, like super, and they were just like they had like no facial expression. It was whatever. I'll think of it later. So
yeah, let me know. This sounds like a fun porno.
Stella's Little Visitor. That sounds like a fun porno. 2 years passed, and Stella continued to see strange lights in the sky that at times would follow her. Her children were no exception to the eerie events. There were incidents in which they were present when Stella saw the orbs of light. She had mentioned her experiences only to her family and close friends by the mid to late 60s. Still unaware of what these lights were or what they wanted, she would never imagine what horrors would soon come to visit her. And this is one of my favorite encounters that she had. It was on the night of Halloween of 1966 when Stella had a terrifying encounter with a strange, grotesque creature. Damn, bitch, I was just going for a swim. Around 7:20 p.m., she parked her car facing the water of a nearby lake. Just as Stella was about to cut off her headlights,
this creature,
a head bobbing up and down,
fucking scary,
the dark and frigid waters of the lake. I was just going for a swim, dude. Her eyes stuck to the emerging figure from the water. Stella described it as wearing a black skull cap. Scared out of her mind. Is that
your haircut, Juan?
Yeah. Scared out of her mind, Stella punched her car in reverse and pulled away from the shoreline. She got the fuck
out of there. What? It's like the swamp thing coming out of there. Fuck, imagine seeing that. Like,
it's like some shit from what's that? The show Stranger Things.
Yeah, or the comic book series now. I would like to watch it if I could find it. But it's the Swamp Thing series that they put out, where like Swamp Thing is he's not a bad creature. He just wants to be loved. In the original I think it was like 1930s or 40s when all the Universal monsters were a big thing. Swamp Thing was like a big movie. This woman falls in love with the swamp creature because he just wants to be loved.
May I speak to you about our Lord and Savior Cthulhu, please? And she's just fucking coming out of the water like rah, fucking trying to eat her and shit. Scared out of her mind. Scared out of her mind, Stella punched the car in reverse and pulled away from the shoreline. She was uncomfortably close. In the panic of things, she managed to see the humanoid-looking thing had crawled its way onto the shore and began running towards a peninsula that was 60 meters away from her house. Yeah. As Stella adjusted her car and headlights to shine towards the location of the creature scurried off into, she saw a basketball-sized orange orb of light.
That's a huge fucking orb. Like everything I've caught on like videos is like a fucking I don't know, like a bottle cap or a beer cap. It's always like something like kind of small. But even the ones that I've captured, if you zoom into them, it doesn't look like a dust particle. It looks like like I've zoomed into them, it looks like all this crazy. I don't even know how to describe it. It looks fucking nuts.
Yeah, so 60 meters. As Stella adjusted her car, a basketball-sized orange orb of light surrounding it was a fuzzy mist. The light glowed dimly and the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. Without warning, a large, brighter orb of light suddenly swooped down behind her house, then flew low across the water. The red bright object was seen by Stella's two teenage neighbors who had seen the bright light come from the sky above and swoop down by the lake. Not far behind
they were just trying to play Stella's who has the bigger dick, and I see this fucking orb show up.
They were completely oblivious to the bizarre phenomenon happening just up the road. So yeah, her life starts in 1961 and she lived a regular life before.
Yeah, she was just a normal housewife cooking goddamn
but
dinner
here's the
fucking
thing.
James Berg or whatever the fuck the husband's name is.
I don't know how credible this is, but because again, all the information that's available is the one that I'm reading pretty much. They did a bunch of medical exams on her, a bunch of scans and whatnot of different doctors that looked at her and her case, and supposedly she was diagnosed before with paranoid schizophrenia. And for those that don't know, schizophrenics, the way, because like Graham Hancock and a lot of these other pseudo historical people who talk about consciousness and whatnot, they say consciousness is broadcasted to our brains, and that the brain is just an instrument of the soul. So schizophrenics, they pretty much say that their minds are wired differently, and their antenna
shit, right?
I
used to know a schizophrenic. About it. Yeah, I used to walk past churches and hear fucking screaming and shit.
That was your friend, right?
Yeah, he's the one that told me how to use a Ouija board. He like showed me how to makeshift a Ouija board out of a shot glass and a piece of paper. I know. I don't know. I saw him years and years and years ago at like a fucking fair. But he was like 17 and I was like 14, and I met him at the St. Leonard Society. I think I've told you that was for like angry kids. And then so we became friends, and he showed me all this paranormal bullshit. And the same time, I have that perspective of schizophrenia where, who knows, they could be seeing shit that we can't see. But also, when I was a kid and my mom brought me to the doctor, and I told him that I thought the government was out to kill everybody and that the government was evil. The doctor tried to call me a schizophrenic paranoia, or a paranoid schizophrenic. And then I went to this Indian doctor because they actually sent me to a psychologist to just make sure that I was all right in the brain when I don't fucking know. I was like 15, 16 or some shit, and I was going through a lot of crazy shit at the time. I was in and out of jail being a fucking idiot and putting myself through hell. And then this Indian doctor, this psychologist, told me nothing was wrong with me. I talked about how much I smoked weed because he thought that I was I think it was called a marijuana-induced paranoid schizophrenic. And then this psychologist that had all this like great background and understood psychology and the way the brain works, she told me I was fucking fine, that weed is not fucking that bad for you, that is probably not even doing that much to my brain at a young age. It slows down development to an extent. But she said, yeah, you're fucking fine. You have normal thoughts like any other teenager would have if they were questioning their surroundings. So fuck you, Dr. Villar.
Yeah, so again, their brains are wired differently, and perhaps they're able to sense, like you said, sense something else from a different
I wasn't
dimension,
seeing other
maybe.
shit. That would be kind of cool though.
I don't know about that. So she was supposedly she was admitted twice to a mental asylum, and then she was later diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. So
So
take that
telling
as
because
you will.
I heard that why people think she's credible is because she never took it to no big news station. She just went locally to talk to like scientists and doctors that were just around the area of where she lived. That's why it's more credible that she wasn't trying to sell it to the big tabloids to make money off of it.
Not like what's your favorite author again?
David
Corey
Wilcock.
David
I
Wilcock
don't
and
read.
the other one
Corey
Corey
Good is
Good.
not a fucking author. Fucking David Wilcock just found him and his stories because
Oh, I
David
thought they
Wilcock
were butt buddies.
they probably are, but they try to he just tries to bring in insiders is how he says. But just like David Icke, just like David Wilcock, just like Alex Jones, and everyone name it David and Alex, they have been right about a lot of shit recently. So
Sure. So, anyways, take that as you will.
that's the wrong button.
The four occupants, and this is one of her most famous pictures, and
Yep.
something that just blew my mind when I first heard about it. So Stella happened to once again see strange lights. It was on the night of February 18th, 1967 that Stella stopped her car on Route 32 near the intersection of Warren Road and Flint Street. She got out of her car to get a better look at the light. She noticed that another passenger car had pulled off the road and the driver too had gotten out due to the odd nature of the lights. Stella asked the
So you
man.
see that? I see
Yep.
that. This looks fucked up, dude. It's like,
So,
well, the
but
kid had
here's
a
the
car.
thing. It's weird that whenever she sees this shit, other people see it. So maybe
Yeah,
it is
so,
something
like-
that has to do with her, or
Yeah.
maybe it is glitches in the matrix. And just for that's like the whole thing about interdimensional travel and interdimensional beings is when you have a 2D object, right?
Yeah.
Or let's say you have a 3D space. When you put a 2D object in that, you're not able to see it immediately, right? And it's like, you get the cross section. If in a 2D picture, if you put a 3D object, you're only going to get a cross section of it. So I feel like that's what happens in the real world. These things exist on another realm of existence, on another dimension, another vibrational frequency, and they every once in a while we'll get a glimpse of them, just like peeking in through our fucking dimension.
I
You know what I
agree.
mean?
And it's like you have to watch out for it. Like, my girlfriend's mother believes in a lot of psychic phenomenon, and they've went to psychics that have. Billy is a piece of shit when it comes to psychics. He likes to think like, "Oh yeah, I could trick you. Yeah,
Fuck Billy.
psychics are just tricking you." He doesn't
Yeah.
want to believe. And he just thinks it's a joke. He thinks that psychics are a fucking joke. And I know Chelsea's mom went to a psychic, and then she wrote everything down. And this is, I think, when Chelsea was either little before she was born, and everything the psychic said when she wrote it all down, because you almost have to write it down, then forget about it because you don't want to like jinx it almost in some way. Because sometimes if you think, oh, this is going to happen, you're putting it out there too much where it won't actually happen. And everything that they went saw came true. Even when I guess I could say this. But we had when I was younger, we were in our early 20s. My girlfriend had an abortion. I've said that I have lots of ghost babies out there. I have, I think, 3-4 ghost babies. And she went to the psychic later on, and she's like, "Who lost the little boy?" And Chelsea's like, "What the fuck?" Like, and she's like, "Who lost the little boy?" And they said the psychic said that it was with her her grandmother, and that they're reverting the soul, and it most likely will come out as a female. So I said, Chelsea, I was like, we better not have a fucking trans kid. Just joking. I love everybody. Everybody love everybody. I'm just joking. But they're saying
got really dark all of a sudden.
the psychic said that like it will most likely, and I thought I was always gonna have a girl, and then obviously different dimensions, and they split off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there obviously is a reality where this did happen. We had him and we had a boy. But I just think that I've always thought that I was gonna have a daughter. So if we have a daughter, 50% chance that the psychic was right.
So she sees the light. The other dude pulls over, and Stella asked
Yeah.
the man if he had too seen the lights, to which the unnamed man responded with a dumbfounded yes.
Did you see that?
Stella ran home to fetch her 8mm camera and headed back to the place. As she neared the intersection, she noticed two lights like before. However, this time she saw two bigger lights ascend from in between the power lines above. They silently joined the other two lights. One of the red lights stopped and bounced like a rubber ball. Stella remained out in the middle of the lonely road, catching glimpses of these strange lights. The bright lights bounced, traveled, and flew around her, giving Stella enough time to carefully observe and film them. At one point, she was joined by a cashier and a friend of Stella who was on her way home from a long shift. The two cars were parked next to each other as the woman watched in stunning wonder. So there's fucking people gathering around,
and they can all see it. You've seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right?
Yeah, parts of it. I either third or fourth. Yeah. The fourth kind, I think I saw.
No, I'm talking about the original Steven Spielberg movie. No. You should check it out. Actually, like I maybe saw it when I was a child, but I watched it recently, like a couple months ago last year, and I was impressed. I liked it. I made Chelsea watch it with me. And I liked the aspect of like everyone sees this UFO and they all get out of their cars. And that's the movie where the kids like stand by the doorway and they see all these lights like enter the house and shit. And it's actually fairly creepy. And I think you should check it out because you can find it on Prime. I think that's where I watched it. And I'm like, I've never really seen it like now that I'm older. So I want to check it out. And it's pretty fucking creepy and good. And then at the end, they like talk to the spaceship, like it sends them different signals of like, beep, boop, beep, 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 beep. It's fucking weird.
So, and I'll give my input on this after I'm done. Shortly thereafter, the lights vanished. A bluish light then appeared off in the distance and slowly approached Stella and her friend. She kept her camera pointed steadily at the nearing object. To their relief, it stopped about 150 feet away from them before flying away. Just then, a bright burst of white light blinded the two as another object also took off at an incredible speed up in the sky.
And these are just like orb-looking, they're just orbs, right?
Yeah. All the while, Stella camera, and we'll get into that. All the while, Stella's camera kept rolling. It took Stella some time and effort to find a projector to show her film. At first, she had taken her film off the object she dubbed the Red Bug to a laboratory in Springfield, Massachusetts for developing. That's when she learned that her 25-foot film segment had been incorrectly spliced. Out of the 50 feet of film loaded in the camera, the last 25 were of her jeweler friend's daughter and her fiance in an outdoor setting. However, the first 25 feet of the film did contain Stella's recording of the lights. So they had given her, she had borrowed a camera apparently, because I heard an interview of her talking, and on the film it had 50 feet, but the first 25 had already been used for a wedding, so she was able to use the last 25. It was on April of 1968, my birthday month, that Stella finally purchased a Bell & Howell projector of her own, a new piece of technology that allowed her to slow down the footage she shot that fateful night.
Yeah, because
didn't 2 frames a second.
She only had a camera for a while, right? Yeah. And then she borrowed a video camera. And are we going to get into when she starts filming around her house?
Yeah.
That's where it's fucking creepy.
When she was able to slow it down, she was able to see the most famous picture that she has, the occupants. The bright object she filmed on the desolate road that night of 1967 contained a few frames of the heads and torsos of strangers. Strange men in what Stella believed to be a craft of some sort. Yeah, so look up the occupants, and it's like a fucking weird ass
Are you
picture.
On that ghost theory?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but here's the thing, dude. Here's what fucks it up. The occupants, she shot it on silent film, an 8mm camera, right? It's a black and white film. Just a regular fucking camera. When they took that film, that picture, and they put it on a video film, they had a fucking sound, bro. And I want you to find the sound.
I already have it, and it's ready to go. Well,
so, can you play right now?
So this is what we're getting at. I thought she took this video footage in her home.
No, dude, she took it on that's why it's so fucking wild that she took it on a black and white photography camera for photographs, silent. Yeah. And when they put it on a fucking film for voice, they were able to get a recording out of it.
Crazy! It is supposed to be this camera was not able to actually record sounds. It was impossible. No. For it to record
That's why I brought up that that and a lot of her pictures you can see like weird appendages coming, like she has a self-portrait where she has like a weird appendage on her face,
Oh, I've
and
seen that. It's
also
fucking crazy. We will
like
post this on
arms
the
and shit.
Strange New
Yeah,
Podcast Instagram. I will post a lot of the pictures from this. It's fucking crazy.
and
So
she
let's get into
has
the clip right now. You
and
ready?
she has the and also what I was saying earlier about, you know, the
Yeah, your
2D and
camera's
3D.
tripping out, bro.
It's probably the internet. The 2D and 3D, she
Yeah.
captured sometimes like arms and like the fucking air and stuff like that, and like just
It's
body
fucking
parts.
weird.
It's
A
fucking
lot of
weird.
the and it's in a lot of this footage and pictures that she captured were almost like impossible to fake at the standard of the time of
Yeah.
filming. And the fact that this audio, which I'm about to play, came from a camera that wasn't able to capture sound at the time. So let's get into it.
Walt Disney Studio to do it. A person like Stella Lansing could not do it.
Even more mysterious than Stella's Super 8 image of the occupants is what happens when the film is transferred to videotape. Then, unidentified voices suddenly appear.
That's fucking creepy.
Analysts could not explain how Stella's silent 8mm film with no soundtrack could suddenly produce sound, replayed here at a slower speed.
I don't know what the fuck that says. It sounds creepy as shit, bro.
It sounds creepy as fuck, dude. I was listening to it when I was like driving through the woods, like
Really?
in the middle of the night. Yeah, and it was fucking creepy.
Oh, it is fucking creepy.
So how crazy is that though? How crazy is it that she was?
a fucking a camera, a video camera. Well, at the time, and video cameras back then, kids like shot in frames, almost like a picture.
Yeah.
Where it just did it instantly, and they shot it in frames. And that camera was not supposed to have audio technology where they were able to hear the audio through it.
So, and we'll get
did.
into it. We'll get into it more of it. Like, oh well, it could have been she fucked with the camera, but they gave her, I think it was 5 different cameras, 6 different types of film, like of people who they were like, you know, cameras that they for sure knew that she couldn't have tampered with because they weren't hers to begin with, and they gave it to her, and she was able to get other pictures. Another of her famous pictures is, I think, the monk, I think they call it.
Yes, yeah, that shit's fucking creepy. Where the guy's like
clockwork,
he's got his head up like this, and his face all stretched out.
The other one is the Clockwork series, which is a series of different pictures that were taken that they show the like almost like a clock around the frame of the picture, but they were all taken in different areas at different times, and there's no way you could have transferred it.
And I will post this stuff on the Strange Juans Podcast Instagram, because by the time this comes out, I'll probably still be banned from the group page on Facebook. But I'll post all of these pictures because they are pretty crazy, especially
Fucking
for the
wild,
time
bro.
error and stuff like that too, which is
so. The next up is Enter the Doctor. When Dr. Schwartz met Stella Lansing, he had already built a large following in the UFO community. So she was reaching out. She wasn't trying to be famous or be like a con artist or anything like that regarding all this stuff. She reached out to local people, her family, and then eventually she reached out to Dr. Schwartz, which
before
apparently
we get to that, let me do her quote. I never saw the people when filming it. I can't tell you what object they came out of or what they were in. The only thing I could think of is that they must have come from the soft white object that was hovering while filming. And that's what she said about the occupant photo.
You could have literally spliced that part of the video.
Could have. I guess she talks pretty weird. Just joking.
Schwartz was a psychiatrist with a keen interest in spirituality, UFOlogy, and the paranormal. Yeah. A well-rounded researcher, you could say. Dr. Schwartz had just finished his lecture when a friend introduced him to Stella.
Isn't it Schwartz? Schwartz. Let the Schwartz be with you, bro.
When a friend introduced him to Stella.
You've seen Spaceballs, right?
Yes, like a very long time ago.
Okay, Spaceballs. The Schwartz. Instead of the Force, it's the Schwartz. It's fucking gold, man.
So, as she poured her story and heart out to the men in the now emptied auditorium, the doctor's doubts began to grow. However, upon hearing that Stella had brought with her evidence on film, his curiosity forced him to stay longer to examine the evidence. Dr. Schwartz writes, I spend the time in the auditorium listening to one of the most unusual accounts of alleged repeated close UFO contacts that I have ever heard. On the surface, the data were extraordinary, if not preposterous. Experiences involving strange little men, voices appearing out of nowhere, creatures, loss of consciousness, electric shock from the shimmering figure, a grasp round hole in the ice, a craft possibly surfacing from the underwater, minuscule footprints, religious symbols, bizarre harassments, etc. Fortunately, as I later learned, Miss Lansing kept meticulous records of her many experiences. So whenever she would film something, she would write on the outside of the film, like, this is what happened, this is what I was doing, dates, times, all that shit. And so Dr. Schwartz first examined Stella. He performed a physical examination, a neurological examination, as well as an electroencephalographic exam. So that's brain scans, EEG. Electroencephalographic exam. So that's
probably would pronounce it a little better than I would have. I would have been.
Her central nervous system also checked out fine. Stella passed her examinations with flying colors. However, when the psychiatric sessions began, Dr. Schwartz learned the extent of Stella's claims of abnormal activity that followed her. Stella told the doctor that in 1967, 6 years after initially coming in contact with strange lights, she had checked herself into a state hospital. This is what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
For years,
she probably thought she was going crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to tell somebody, dude, honestly, Tom, if you were to tell me, hey, bro, I can peek into other dimensions, I'd be like, Tom, shut the fuck up. Like, shut up. Bro. Like if you told me, like, every night they come into my room and they touch me.
It happened. Ghosts used to take off my underwear and throw them across the room when I was a kid.
They touch me down there. Like, I'll be like, dude, shut the fuck up. So she had been checked into she had checked herself into a state hospital. For years, the sightings of unidentified flying objects and strange beings began to take a toll on Stella Lansing. She was admitted to the hospital and was under the care of hospital's director of clinical psychiatry. Under his examination, the doctor labeled Stella as a paranoid schizophrenic who suffered from hallucinations about seeing UFO crafts. Although not overly religious, Stella spoke of strange communications she was receiving telepathically about supposed UFO-related communications from Beelzebub, the fucking devil. She was supposedly
she talked to Beelzebub.
Yeah, Beelzebub.
What the fuck? She thought oh, that's even creepier. So she was probably talking to a reptilian, bro. Because
I don't know, dude.
Demons, I believe, are just different. They might not even be reptilians, but I believe demons are not demons in the way the Bible sees them. They're evil entities that do exist on some sort of frequency level. And Beelzebub,
yeah,
good old Bob, man. He's a hardcore demon.
Stella stayed under the doctor's care for an initial 10 days before checking herself out. However, not a month later, she had returned to the hospital. This time checking in for 5 weeks total. She completed treatment and was released on the basis that she had no further reoccurrences. It was Dr. Schwartz who believed that Stella could have gone a temporary psychosis brought on by the phenomenon she was experiencing.
This was the 60s, right? Right? Or 70s?
Yeah. So the almost late 60s, early 70s, yeah.
Sure, she wasn't being like the first person to get hooked on cocaine. She had like psychosis. Like,
maybe fucking Stella. Maybe Stella liked to fucking party, bro. Who knows?
That's true.
It was Dr. Schwartz. So she had gone into a psychosis episode, right?
Yeah.
Although Stella was Roman Catholic during her stay in the hospital, she was never described as someone overly pious. In fact,
I thought when she was in there, she's like converted to Judaism or something.
She rarely talked about religion or scriptures of any kind. This was just Stella's mind trying to make sense of the voices, images, and visitations that had plagued her for years. For the past decade, Stella kept meticulous records of her encounters with the strange phenomenon. She kept journals of times and dates when she saw bright lights or strange creatures. In one instance, Stella claimed that her entire left hand had suffered some type of paralytic shock when she had photographed a shimmering figure.
Oh, so like it shocked her hand, sent a fucking shockwave through her her
Yeah.
hand while she took the picture, right?
Yeah. So
Creepy.
Dr. Schwartz began with the treasure trove, which was Stella's films, the spools of film which depicted strange, blurry flashes of lights zooming in the sky, or more interesting, the images of strange, out of place structures or things. So here's a picture of her self portrait, and you see like something on her fucking face, bro.
Yeah, there's like these weird. Isn't it like almost like there's these boil looking things?
Like a
almost,
wart or something. It looks
yeah.
crazy, bro.
I
Like,
will definitely post all these to the page because there is a lot of photography that she took, and I want people to see it. So we will post it on the pages and stuff because it is fucking weird. The ones on her face is weird because like weird anomalies, like almost like a wart, but doesn't really look like a wart.
it's fucking kind of gross. So the Men in
weird.
Black. On the night of April 15, 1971, Dr. Schwartz, Stella Lansing, and a lady friend of Stella drove all the way down to the spot in Massachusetts, which Stella claimed to have a lot of encounters. The trio drove to a secluded area, killed the engine and the headlights, and stepped out of the vehicle and into the silent, still night. Within a few minutes, two yellowish glowing discs were seen up in the sky. The objects appeared to glide silently alongside each other, oftentimes merging into themselves before splitting up again. They watched the lights.
More like a UFO then, not
uninterrupted.
Or more like a UFO.
So here's the thing. Have you seen that video of that one guy that calls a UFO like on live news?
No.
You never seen that video where the dude's
I
like,
think so.
I can make them come, and it's like some cool, like some wacko guy, and the anchor's like, yeah, we didn't really believe him. He's like, he like does like a prayer. It's like, oh, please give us a sign or some shit like that. And then out of nowhere, in the fucking distance, bro, is a UFO on live news.
I feel like I've heard about this before. You should have told me. I would have played the clip, motherfucker.
Dude, So look it up later after the show. So
man commands UFO. Is that what I'm looking at?
Is it a black guy?
Why does race have to do anything with this?
Is it a fucking black dude?
What is it? Fucking Barney Hill?
No, no. That's not. Let me see here. News anchor.
I'll post on the Instagram page if I find the video or Juan finds it. And when this comes out, I'll post the video because I think I know what video you're talking about because they thought he was a whack job, but then it's just like, look, our kid's right there.
Yeah, I think they call him the UFO guy.
The UFO man.
Reconnect. Let me see here. No. I'll have to find. I'll send it to you. Anyways,
that's fine. Yeah, I'll post it on the page. I'm pretty sure I know which one you're talking about, but I think it was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it just reminds me of this, where she's able to go somewhere and she's able to call upon the UFOs or whatever it is. And so as the three observed the craft, they were completely unaware of an approaching black car that had its headlights off. The car stopped about 100 feet from where the three stood. It suddenly blasted its bright headlight beams in their direction. Dr. Schwartz wrote about the unnerving encounter.
So he saw it, a psychiatrist, a fucking doctor.
So he has she has two people in the car with her friend and the psychiatrist. So
Crazy.
That's why I feel like this lady isn't like full of shit. Like, a lot of people could be full of shit. Like, especially back then, you could say whatever.
Yes,
I mean, look at the Bible, right? You could be like, oh,
bullshit.
This guy resurrected 3 days after. Like, we can't fucking confirm that, right? So
no, but if you could have it on video.
So a classic Men in Black incident like those cataloged by the famous researcher John Keel. So the incident that night led Dr. Schwartz to believe that something unexplainable was happening to Stella.
Which is like Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd fucking he swears to God he saw.
That's the Ghostbusters guy?
Yeah. He swore to God that like he saw this black vehicle following him around, and that allegedly they stole some of his like footage and the stuff he was researching, and how he saw this black car like you would see in the Men in Black movie that they hit the J, like don't hit the red button, that kind of car. And he said he was on the phone with somebody, in the blink of an eye, literally like a blink, the car just disappeared. And he thinks that had some cloaking device on it to hide it from his sight, essentially.
So in conclusion, as the scientific community began hearing about Dr. Schwartz's research into Stella Lansing's phenomenon, the interest in her abilities grew. Many researchers tried to explain the bizarre photographs of crafts, lights, and the clock-like patterns infused in Stella's film as technical glitches. So people were skeptical. They were saying, hey, her equipment is faulty. She's fucking with her equipment. That's somehow and they also claim that somehow light had filtered in the camera, causing the anomalies. They also
That's what they always say, and I know it's like there is a lot of stuff back then that they did fake, but
yeah,
this woman did not.
because I'm
seem
sure
to
there
have,
are people who did fake it. You know
well,
what
yes,
I mean?
I just don't think this woman had anything to gain from faking it.
Yeah,
Usually,
no,
people have
yeah.
something to gain. They want notoriety or fame, or
It's like Betty and Barney Hill. They had nothing to
no,
gain
they had
from
nothing
it.
to gain at all.
They were an interracial couple. You know,
Why would you be like, I thought something was wrong with my dick? If he, like Barney freaks out thinking something's wrong with his penis.
Yeah.
And listen back to that episode. Me and Billy covered that, and Billy even thought it, for his skeptical ass, thought it was weird, a very strange, weird story.
So, however, not one of them ever managed to prove exactly how Stella captured those images. They were not able to explain how these images appeared on different types of cameras with different types of film, all showing the same patterns and ghostly images. Stella never regressed to the state of mind she was in 1967. When she checked into the state hospital after the psychiatric help from Dr. Schwartz, she managed to keep her head together and continue her exploration into the strange phenomenon that surrounded her. It wasn't until 1991 that the television show Sightings got a hold of Stella and Dr. Schwartz and ran a lengthy and concise segment on the phenomenon. During the shows,
I think that's what I saw. That's not even the clips that I saw. Yeah. It looks grady as shit now.
During the show's investigation, the exported Stella's silent 8mm film of the occupants. They extracted it onto VHS, and when they did that, that's when they found the fucking voices. So
that's crazy.
Anyways, that's the end of that, and you can see that episode online. It's called it's on YouTube. It's called
you can look up her name and you can probably find it.
Experiencer Super 8 video footage UFO alien communication Stella Lansing, and it's a 8-minute clip, and it shows you everything that they did. And I think those orbs of light. I don't know if you've ever seen ball lightning. Have you ever seen that?
No, I have not seen fiery balls of lightning.
So
is that an AC/DC song?
No. Look it up. Look up ball lightning, and it's a phenomenon that you have these balls of lightning that just travel across the floor.
I like how many times you keep saying balls. It makes me excited.
Seriously though, dude, look up ball lightning so you can see what I'm talking about.
Chelsea, you want to come on camera? She's like hiding. She just got home, I think. Yeah, this is a crazy story. It's weird, and like I never even, as far as I can remember, I probably heard on Coast to Coast or something, like at least parts of it, but I didn't really dive deep into this. I know that people have caught weird phenomenon on film, but like the fact that she had nothing to gain, they can't prove how she faked these, which when it comes to ghost photos that people have faked, they thought always like, they can prove it's double exposure or certain things where they put a photograph on top of a photograph and shit like that, and they take a picture of that kind of thing, but they can't prove that she faked this. So
what gets me is that she was able to replicate it on different cameras, different film at different times. She was able to get these weird anomalies every time. And what are the chances, bro, that every time you take a fucking picture, you're gonna catch something?
Yeah, I know,
weird
and she
you know what I
got
mean?
so many different photos she has of weird anomalies, strange things. The weird clock one where it's all these like fucking weird. It looks like
a clock
hands on and just on a photo. There's no explanation of how that was done.
And speaking of that, the Clockwork series, when they zoom into those the markings of the clock, they're UFOs, bro. They're little UFOs. Yeah, it's fucking wild.
Well, I'll have to post those. Well, that'll definitely be all over the Strange Juan podcast when this is released. We will post the pictures. Well, I might post them, but I'm definitely going to put them on the Strange Juan podcast page on Instagram, because I'll probably still be banned from Facebook, most likely. And but it reminds me of like we talked about on the one episode with that we did near Halloween last year. We talked about ectoplasmic slime, and there's a lot of photos of that. And a lot of the time they proved it was fake because they could. And this chick can't be proven that it was faked.
I think Stella was the real deal. I think she was able to peek into other dimensions, and if it was like her aura, in tune with some other frequency. I don't know, but
that's true. You could be connected to something else, and I think the more you become in tune with like nature and not eating shitty foods, the more you become closer with nature and able your body to feed off of it and become closer to different realities, you could have been opening yourself up to stuff, or sometimes they just choose you. Usually it's a guy out in the boonies named like fucking Cletus, and they fucking are like, Cletus, you like, and they, so they don't believe you, but sometimes there is the good entities that are maybe trying to send you a message. So who knows? Because the one photo of that she like she like, for all the people listening, she was taking photos inside of her home, and then all of a sudden, like, it did not look like her house. The photos like did not look like anything like she was in, like she was just taking pictures of random shit in her home, and then all of a sudden, I think that's the one where she got the monk guy, and it's this guy, and he's like kind of leaned up, and his eyes are almost rolling in the back of his head.
It's
and his face is stretched out.
It's an Arabic monk looking.
Yeah, he's got
guy.
a fucking turban on.
Is like being stretched up like that. Like, it's fucking weird.
Yeah,
bro.
and he has a turban on, and she just took this picture inside of her house, and then when they developed, this monk guy was just on the photos. So that is the weird part to me, and the strange part is the fact that she was just taking pictures around her house, and when developed, found all these weird anomalies, or looking, and she believes that she was looking into another dimension through these photographs. And nowadays, with the cameras we use, I think it's harder to catch those things. I don't know if it's the clarity of the photos, or people could always claim, right? You can always claim they were faked. So it's not as easy to fake things. It's actually more easy to fake things nowadays, because you can just fucking put it in Photoshop.
Yeah, exactly. So that wraps it up for the Stella Lansing episode. I think it was fucking awesome, and I really enjoy looking into this shit.
Weird stuff, strange stuff. But that was crazy. We'll probably, who knows what we'll hit you with next week, because me and Juan are juggling a couple ideas what we're gonna do. But yeah, like to support us, you can get a Strange Juans t-shirt. Go to www.strangejuanpodcast.com. I have a shitload of Strange Juan merch, but I need to get a Strange Juans t-shirt, because that would be awesome. And you support us. Go to Patreon. Me and Juan, the time this comes out, it should be up. We'll probably do a strange news episode. We'll probably get into rant episodes. Billy has been pretty busy with his new job, so I might have some different guests on. Who knows? You might hear Juan on a main show sometime, just like the main show, because like Billy even said, he's getting busy like crazy. He's working all the fucking time. He thinks he's going to be retired by the time he's 50. I doubt it. But
fuck you, Billy.
Yeah, but who knows what's that coming in the future?
What's that one movie where it's like, oh, Billy, and it's like fucking putting his nipple on
I'm glad you've seen Cable Guy. You didn't see Indiana Jones. You've seen Cable Guy.
Of course, bro.
Billy. And we used to, when Billy first came on the podcast, we used to use that clip every time he'd come on the podcast. That was his intro clip. Oh, Billy. And like, was it what's his name, Broderick or whatever, is like telling him, don't do that, you're gonna get me killed, because he's like in jail, and he's like showing the other guy, and the guy like blows the kiss at him and shit. I love Cable Guy. Cable Guy got a lot of bad reviews to shout that movie. You know who was originally supposed to play the Cable Guy, like Jim Carrey in that movie?
Who?
Chris Farley. Chris Farley
really?
was supposed to play that role, which I think would have been a totally different movie by far. But I love there is a lot of people, like reviews, like the fucking stupid critics that said that movie wasn't that great. But I think Cable Guy is creepy, weird, sad fucking movie.
Fucking awesome.
Creepy fucking movie. And then he like tries to kill fucking himself, and what's his name, Broderick. Do you know that guy Matthew Broderick killed a chick with his car?
Matthew, you know who's that guy?
He's the guy that Jim Carrey essentially harasses and like puts in his cable and like starts giving him free shit. You know what I mean? The main character other than Jim Carrey. The guy that has the girlfriend, but then,
No, he's been in a bunch of shit.
Matthew Broderick is I think a good actor. I've liked him in a lot of stuff. He's been in, like, he was Ferris Bueller in
Godzilla, bro. He was in fucking Godzilla.
Yeah, he was the original Godzilla, not the original Godzilla, but the '90s Godzilla movie. But he, I think it was a woman he hit with his car, and he got away with it, just like that lady boy Bruce Jenner.
Yep,
because he killed someone with his car.
It's Caitlyn. It's Caitlyn to you.
I refuse to call him Caitlyn.
So yeah, dude, I had a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah, this was fucking trippy shit, man.
Make sure to follow us on social media at the Juan Podcast and at Strange Brew.
Fuck yeah.
Is
Beef
it-
up
is it
those
podcast, right?
Instagrams. Yeah, now it changed it. It's podcast because for some reason I couldn't add Strange Brew Podcast before, but now I found it. So maybe someone fucked off because there's that stupid ass prog rock podcast. There's a bunch of old dudes and it's called The Strange Brew. And I don't know why they stole that from a Canadian fucking movie, but they just talk about prog rock and it sounds horribly
Fucking
boring.
Canadians, eh?
So yeah, we'll get into some crazy shit, especially like, you know, it's the summer will end in 2 months and we'll probably start getting into some really, really strange topics when it starts nearing Halloween too. My favorite time of year.
Yeah, and then stay tuned for the next Strange Ones.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Maybe we'll do some weird stuff to do with the, you know, it's getting hot, summertime. Maybe we'll do something to do with that, like weird, strange vacation things or something like that. We'll see what's on the docket.
We'll get into it
Awesome. Peace.
later.
Motherfuckers.
Hail Thoth.
Hail Thothy boy.